After years of waiting, obsessively going over every casting announcement and every tiny story detail, the wait is over. Penguin, the new Max series spin-off from Robert Pattinson's Batman, is finally here. Following Colin Farrell's Oswald "Oz" Cobb, the man who will become the Penguin, the series offers a deep dive into the criminal underworld of Gotham. Matt Reeves, director of The Batman, has even promised that the series will set up the plot of The Batman 2, and by the time the first episode comes to an end, you'll see how important the Penguin is to the sequel. The Penguin opens up with a recap of the events of The Batman, from the murder of Carmine Falcone to the damage caused by the Riddler blowing up Gotham's seawall. The vigilante Batman is mentioned as having been spotted saving people from the flood, but that's the only time he's mentioned for the rest of the episode. Instead, the focus then shifts to the introduction of Alberto Falcone, Carmine's son and the new king of the Gotham underworld. Alberto, played here by Michael Zegan, appears in the classic Batman story The Long Halloween. Alberto is a major part of the story, and in the DC animated movie, he was voiced by the Boys actor Jack Quaid. Alberto is the first of the Gotham criminals appearing in the Penguin to be ripped right out of the comics. It doesn't take long for Alberto and Penguin to come face to face. While Penguin is breaking into Falcone's safe and stealing blackmail material that Falcone had on a Gotham City politician, Alberto interrupts him. The two sit down, and while Penguin is obviously trying to manipulate Alberto, it becomes clear that the young Falcone isn't playing the same game. During their talk, Alberto mentions the ring he's wearing originally belonged to Salvatore Maroni, the crime boss that Falcone replaced. Penguin shares a story about Rex Calabrese, a crime boss from when he was a kid who took care of the neighborhood, from helping people with rent to finding doctors. And when he died, the residents threw a parade in his honor. Rex Calabrese isn't a random name. He was a mob boss from the comics who was in power before Bruce Wayne ever became Batman. But his biggest claim to fame in the DC universe is that he's the real father of Selina Kyle, Catwoman. Known as the Lion, Calabrese passed his criminal empire onto Catwoman, and for a few years, she was a known top mob boss. In the comics, anyway. As we know from The Batman, Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman was the illegitimate daughter of Falcone. Still, this is a fun comic Easter egg for Batman fans. After Falcone laughs at Penguin's story about Rex Calabrese, Penguin shoots him. A lot. From how this scene is shot, at first you'd be forgiven for thinking it'll turn out to be a murderous fantasy, but no. In a massive bit of misdirection, Alberto Falcone, a deadly Batman villain, is dead within the first 15 minutes of The Penguin. Don't worry, the real villain shows up later. While trying to escape from the Iceberg Lounge with Alberto's body, Penguin stops some teens from stealing his car. He catches one of them, Victor Aguilar, and as the boy begs for his life, it looks like Penguin has a change of heart and decides to let the boy live. Together, the pair work to get rid of the evidence, including visiting a lady of the night to establish an alibi for the Penguin. After dumping Alberto's body in the trunk of the car at the junkyard, Penguin makes sure to take Sal Maroni's ring for himself. He knows the importance of the ring, but notably, he still doesn't put it on. Penguin mentions outright that killing Victor would be the smart play. The boy knows too much to allow him to live, yet Victor is able to successfully plead for his life, appealing to Penguin by talking about his ambition and how he wants to do things. Victor isn't an idiot and pieced together what to say from an earlier discussion. Penguin makes it clear that he's ambitious. He wants to rise to the top, and like Victor, he started out as a poor kid in Gotham, struggling to survive. Penguin takes Victor to his place where we see a photo of a young Oswald with another boy. For the first time, we also see Penguin's mangled foot. The toes are out of place, it curls in on itself, and it's clear now why he walks with a waddle. Despite his size, Penguin is shown to be physically disabled, from struggling to lift Alberto's body to going upstairs, which is why he has to rely on being smarter than everyone else. He proves this by going into Alberto's phone and finding information on a mysterious shipment which he thinks will change everything for him. Alas, Penguin is called into a meeting with the family headed up by Johnny Vitt, Carmine's old underboss, and Milos Grape, Carmine's former bodyguard. The two make it clear that for all of his ambition, Penguin is under them, lower than them, and needs to take his orders from them. Penguin's attempt to win over the pair and allow him to intercept the shipment is interrupted by Sofia Falcone, played by How I Met Your Mother's Kristen Milioti, as you've never seen her before. As with her brother Alberto, Sofia is another character from the comics, starring in the series Batman Dark Victory, the sequel to The Long Halloween. In the comics, Sofia is a serial killer called the Hangman who kills Gotham police officers and works alongside Two-Face. Right away, the series nods to her comic book origin, with a mention how she spent time in Arkham Asylum but was rehabilitated from what isn't said. The mention of being in Arkham nods to her colorful comic book origin. Sofia walks out with Penguin and comments on his purple car, a small nod to the character's past appearances. Purple is often part of the Penguin's outfits, from Burgess Meredith's top hat in the Adam West series to the color of his umbrella. The world of Matt Reeves' The Batman is dark, drab, and colorless, which makes the very purple car stick out like a classic comic supervillain. At lunch with Penguin, Sofia wonders if nearby patrons are talking about her, the psycho killer roaming around free. This would be another nod to her comic origin, except for one thing. Sofia says she was called the Hangman by the press and forced to read all the news stories written about her. We still don't know what exactly she did, but the Penguin is fully embracing her comic counterpart. It's clear that Sofia is dangerous, deadly, and is going to be a worthy opponent for Penguin. For the first time, we see Penguin panic. With Victor in tow, Penguin starts to put Plan B in motion. Get the hell out of Gotham. Victor notes that on the subway, Penguin doesn't sit in the disabled seating, instead he stands despite the obvious pain he's in. It's clear that he's either too stubborn or too proud to acknowledge his foot. While on the subway, Victor and Penguin are approached by a man dressed as Paul Dano's Riddler, offering riders to scan the code and learn the true face of Gotham. Penguin dismisses him, not caring at all about scanning the code, but this has ramifications for the entire Matt Reeves Batman universe. What does it mean if a sociopathic serial killer like the Riddler is able to inspire people? Will something similar happen when Barry Keoghan's Joker makes an appearance? Could this be laying the groundwork for Punchline, Joker's latest girlfriend and a college student inspired by the Clown Prince of Crime, to appear instead of another Harley Quinn? This is the last time we see a reference to the Riddler in the first episode of The Penguin, but it does lay the groundwork for some fascinating possibilities in the next two movies. In Penguin's backup car, Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 starts to play once it's turned on, amusing Victor, who's now feeling comfortable enough around Penguin to chuckle a little at the gangster's musical taste. In Penguin's mother's house, Victor sees the same childhood photo and even more of Oswald with unknown kids. Does he have a brother? What happened to his family? Most versions of the Penguin have him as an only child, doting on his elderly mother, so adding a sibling or two is an interesting direction to take the character. It soon becomes clear that Penguin's mother, Frances Cobb, has dementia, which again is a small touch lifted from the comics. And true to the comic, Penguin is trying to take care of his mother, getting after her for not taking her medicine and telling her Victor is going to help take care of her as they get out of town together. In a moment of lucidity, Frances shows she knows more about her son than maybe he knows about himself. She knows that shooting Alberto wasn't done in a moment of anger, but instead it was because Penguin wanted to shoot him and move up in Gotham. She even says that he shot that junkie pissant just like Dad. Future episodes will likely show more of Penguin's past, but a picture is already starting to form, and it explains everything about his motivation. But there's one more thing. Penguin's mom sums up the entire series. She talks him out of running and into fighting to take what he deserves, to take Gotham. This moment right here is when a switch gets flipped in Penguin's head, and Gotham will never be the same. Penguin's ambitions now include Victor, already a trusted confidant and apparently his only friend. As the episode goes on, we got to watch Penguin warm up to Victor, and here he's giving Victor an encouraging pep talk. Sure hope it's not to commit a crime of some sort. Penguin goes to Blackgate Prison to visit personally with Sal Maroni, now played by Clancy Brown. If Clancy Brown looks familiar, you may recognize him from The Boys spin-off Gen V, or perhaps his greatest role, the Kurgan from the original Highlander. If you watch Gotham, you'll recognize the name of Sal Maroni, played then by Dexter's David Zayas, as he's the original Gotham mob boss, originally appearing back in the Batman comics in the 1940s. We only see Sal Maroni for this one scene in the first episode of The Penguin. Still, Clancy Brown makes him seem menacing, threatening, and since he's one of the few able to see through Penguin's attempts at manipulation, intelligent. Even though he just got done threatening Penguin, Sal is caught off guard when Penguin returns the stolen ring from him. Stunned, Sal asks how Penguin ended up with it, with Oswald saying he's more than he appears. There's a fun Penguin Easter egg hidden here as we see the outside of the Iceberg Lounge in daylight for the first time, and we can see the business next door is Burgess Jewelry. Burgess Meredith played the Penguin in the Adam West Batman series. To this day, his take on the cackling monocle-wearing villain in the top hat and tuxedo is one of the definitive depictions of the Penguin. In the first series devoted to the villain, it's cool that they threw out a nod of recognition to one of the legends that helped pave the way and make it all possible. On the run from Sofia and her goons, Penguin comes to a stop at a FEMA disaster recovery center while it's raining, which means that there are plenty of umbrellas around. So far, we haven't seen Penguin pick up an umbrella, his signature weapon. So could it be that now, to hide from the thugs, he'll grab an umbrella and blend in? No. In another misdirect, Penguin was hiding in the trunk of his car, evading all but one resourceful goon that he ends up maiming with a knife. This proves that despite his foot, he's stronger than he looks. Until a masked goon takes him down with a sucker punch. Whoops. A gagged and naked Penguin is at the mercy of Sofia, who produces a young man that claims he saw Penguin with Alberto's body leaving the Iceberg Lounge the previous night. Without missing a beat, Penguin says that isn't true, so Sofia proves her point by shooting the kid in the head right in front of Penguin. All episode, we've seen Penguin talk his way out of trouble, but Sofia is psychotic, determined, and doesn't seem to care what he has to say. An oddly familiar-looking car comes crashing to the Falcone compound with no driver, only a heavy brick on the gas pedal. Slowly, Sofia goes over and opens the trunk, and inside is the body of Alberto, missing his pinky. Payback written on the underside of the trunk cover makes it clear that this is a message. The question is, from who? Well, we know as that's the same car from the junkyard. We could assume that Sofia let Penguin go, now having doubts as to his guilt. He's enjoying a slushie with Victor, congratulating his new friend for a job well done, even if the body was supposed to be cut up. Penguin then lays out his plan, which the missing pinky finger plays into perfectly. If you recall in the first scene, Alberto is wearing Maroni's ring on his pinky. The pinky is missing, and the ring is now back with Maroni in Blackgate, where he won't be able to avoid questions about it or resist showing it off. That means Sofia will direct her vengeance towards Maroni. Penguin has just lit the fuse and Gotham's underworld is about to explode into the largest gang war in its history, all while he's on the sideline and playing both sides against each other. It's a genius move that fits perfectly with a character who historically doesn't get his own hands dirty. At the end of the episode, fans are left to wonder what's going to happen next to escalate the war, and what is in that mystery shipment arriving in a few days. No matter what it is or where the story goes from here, it's safe to say that Penguin is Colin Farrell's best role yet. Through a mountain of prosthetics, Farrell is able to emote and say so much about Oswald Cobb without having to say a single word. From the way he walks to the way his mouth twitches just before he lies through his teeth, Penguin is the star's meatiest role since Killing of a Sacred Deer. If the first episode of Penguin is any indication, the future of the DC universe is bright. Somehow, the series has cracked the code for telling a great story in Gotham with no involvement from Batman. The Penguin is a hard-boiled crime drama that just happens to take place in the DC universe, or a DC universe anyways, as Matt Reeves' The Batman movies are part of DC Elseworlds and not part of the same universe as James Gunn's upcoming Superman movie. Hopefully, this means we'll keep getting more daring stories like The Penguin that dare to do something different. It's too early to tell what The Penguin means for the Batman 2. We know Colin Farrell's appearing as the criminal mastermind, and given the ending of the first episode, it's safe to assume he'll be in charge of Gotham's criminal underworld by the time of the movie. There's no telling what Batman's story arc, if any, will be adapted for the movie. Penguin has been typically a secondary villain, used as the brains of the operation, and in the stories where he goes up against Batman, there's always another villain involved. That seems like the most likely scenario for Batman 2, with Penguin protecting his empire by hiring someone to take out the Bat. Could it be a very different version of the Joker? Will Oswald Cobb hire KG Beast, the Russian assassin briefly used in Batman v Superman? Or could Matt Reeves continue his deep dive into Batman lore and bring in the Flamingo, a cannibalistic serial killer who, when used in the series Gotham, worked for the mob? About the only thing that seems like a safe guess for the future Penguin is that it's unlikely Victor will make it out of the season alive. With the talk of ambition, Penguin's encouragement of being ambitious, and how no one will ever give anything to people like them, it sure sounds like the groundwork is being laid for Victor to betray him at some point. We'll have a better idea of just how far Reeves is going to go in the next few episodes, but for now, we get to watch the rise of the Penguin, and it's surprisingly the best thing DC has done since Peacemaker.